Graceborne is an Elden Ring mod currently in the early stages of development. Unlike some other mods that are much further along, Graceborne doesn't immediately wow you with a plethora of new areas and enemy designs. Instead, it astonishes you with an almost flawless implementation of Bloodborne mechanics and weaponry. I'm not talking about reskinning a straight sword to look like a saw cleaver. I'm talking about having access to the complete moveset of some of your favourite Bloodborne trick weapons in a way that's been very thoughtfully designed to fit into Elden Ring's existing mechanics and controls. While Graceborne is still in alpha, I had to jump in and give it a go. So in this video, I'll give you my first impressions of a mod that's future I might be more excited for than any other. When you start Graceborne, you're greeted with some incredibly cool new starting classes. Some of these don't have icons yet, and that's a fair indicator of the mod's current state. It is unfinished. We're not talking about 70 quid AAA game unfinished, but you will find a few bugs around the place. And just look at these starting classes. In some ways, this was an incredibly difficult choice, but really, there was only one option when I saw it. I'm deliberately not going to spoil the changes very close to the start, but it's fair to say that the starting and tutorial areas are very different now and should be investigated. When you make it to the starting door, you can take your first glimpse at Graceborne. Part of this mod is a reshade preset that gives Elden Ring a much more dark and gothic vibe. And in keeping with that, a lot of the areas have been changed to match. The first sign of this was the Tree Sentinel being replaced with its more evil looking cousin. And despite the fact I was doing fuck all damage, I was already captivated enough by the yarn and moveset to get stuck in and fight him before doing anything else. Like in the game that lives under Sony's stairs, your character's movement is not affected by equip load in Graceborne. You'll be at light load regardless of your gear, with a dash when locked on and a roll when unlocked. Although this is changed in the best possible way by some of the added weapons. More on that later. You'll also recognise Bloodborne's healing animation, as well as the rally system being implemented now. When the Tree Sentinel was down, I headed for Limgrave's quite noticeable new addition. I suspect there will be a lot more new buildings like this as the mod progresses, and if the quality of this one is anything to go by, that will be quite special. In the Cathedral of Ella, you find Vare, and next to him something that you may not expect. This is a stack of 50 Lord's runes, and it replenishes each time you take them. Yep, infinite Lord's runes in the starting area. You can literally get to max level right at the start of the game. This does remind me of another Souls game, but I can't think which one. The reason the Lord's runes are there becomes apparent when you speak to the new NPC by the altar and find that he sells all of the new added weapons and equipment. Graceborne adds the new category of trick weapon into Elden Ring. Some of these are original Bloodborne ones, some slightly changed, and some unique to Graceborne. But after buying all of them and standing here for 20 minutes trying everything out, I was seriously impressed by the quality of all of them.
Wait a minute, what the fuck is that?
You're tarnished, but I can also see
Orphan,
that you're
mate.
not after my throat. Then why not purchase
You're a
it from something?
horse.
I am Kale.
By holding down Y, triangle or E whilst attacking, you can also use each weapon's transforming attacks in a way that fits so perfectly into Elden Ring's existing controls. Now to try the thing I'd been looking forward to. Gun parries. I want to give a shout out here to a channel called LadySheik, who has 2 tutorials for installing Graceborne and getting gun parries working. There are reports of gun parries not working for a lot of people and the developer is looking into it. But after following LadySheik's installation instructions, I did manage to get them working. And the very second that I got them working, I did what any parry nerd would do and headed straight to Margit for a scrap. Like quite a few bosses in Graceborne, Margit has some new gothic threads, but his moveset remains the same for now. So is Graceborne a gun parry nirvana for Elden Ring parry nerds? Well, not quite. The gun parry animation is so authentic to Bloodborne and its interrupt the swing rather than parry the strike parry mechanic that when you try it with Elden Ring's boss attacks, it's far too slow and requires a much earlier input, and therefore all of your parry timings are out the window. This isn't the mod's fault, by the way, it's just what you get when you merge 2 different games' mechanics. However, the modder has already taken steps to address this by having the gun fire on button release. This might sound illogical, but it means you can parry a little faster by holding the trigger while anticipating a parry. This enables you to parry the vast majority of attacks with timings more similar to Elden Ring. But for the faster ones, the gun animation is just too slow. So no fancy Morgott, Renala or Melania fights just yet. I guess you could match Elden Ring's parry timing by having an instant fire gun of some sort. But in a mod that's so faithful to Bloodborne, I almost feel like that would spoil the fun a bit. Because I was here fighting Margit for quite a while, learning how to parry him again. And it's been a long time since I had this much fun fighting him. After Margit, I went back to the cathedral and used some of the free cash to give myself 20 levels in all the stats, so I could try out all of the weapons. From this point, I only leveled Vigor until the Ashen Capital. So for Stormveil, I wanted to try out one of my favourite things about this mod. Certain weapons will not only change your attacks, but your character's idle and running animations as well. And this is something that I've always wanted to see more of in From Software games, especially with armaments that lend themselves more to a bestial form. Swine Lord Porcus. That's what I'm calling Gideon from now on. Now, while you watch Godric being bullied by my new beast form, a word on difficulty of this mod. If anything you see in this video looks a little rough, it is not the mod. I deliberately wanted a very underpowered, underleveled character for this run, so I did everything with Radagon's Saw Seal and the Strength Physic, and only started upgrading my weapon in the mountaintops. The trick weapons are very powerful, so you can definitely make some hilariously overpowered builds in Graceborne. One of my favourite weapons that I used was the mod's take on the Logarius Wheel. starting off with an attack that transforms you into a spiky rolling goat. Like the original, in its transformed form, it does big damage, but there's a catch. In Graceborne, this weapon causes bleed to build up on your character, and having to manage that trade-off in fights is addictively entertaining, especially when fighting a boss as good as Radahn. One of my favourite Bloodborne weapons, the Amygdala's Arm, returns in Graceborne. And something you'll notice with the trick weapons is the speed. The Amygdala's Arm does as much poise damage as an Elden Ring colossal weapon, but its Yharnam roots mean that it's much faster than a colossal weapon would be, meaning you could make a damn good bully everything build in Graceborne. For Godfrey, I used the setup that every Bloodborne player has used at some point. The good old spin to win Gascoigne build. For Morgott, having only just discovered the transformation attacks, I went back to Old Reliable for some of the most satisfying combat I've had on this boss. Dashes and transform attacks combined with Morgott's moveset is just so fucking cool. For Fire Giant, I tried out the old one-shot king. The stake driver is back with its massive transformed R2. It's not doing a whole lot of damage here, but again, that's down to me and not the mod. And no Bloodborne mod would be complete without the pizza cutter. The Whirligig Saw is here in all its glory and fits into Elden Ring so perfectly. For Malekith, the Bloodborne moveset is just poetry. Dashing around the attacks is so damn satisfying. Even at only +6, I was still gutted that the weapon did this much damage, as I could have done this fight for at least another 15 minutes. I have so much respect for the modder prioritising the Kos Parasite over a lot of other Bloodborne trick weapons. This Winter Lantern build is actually one of the starting classes, and I have to admit, I have already started a fresh character in this mod to do a full run with it, as it's just so much fun. Not only does it have a weapon art that spews maggots, it also has a 3-stage charged attack that, even at +6 with little stat investment, does some pretty serious damage. I went back to the Whirligig for Radabeast to show that, like in Bloodborne, trick weapons can also be buffed with greases or spells. And for Moog, a gammon build. If you're wondering about the DLC, it does work with Graceborne. However, according to the mod's developer, some aspects are still a work in progress, so we'll save that for another day. There is so much more to this mod that I haven't shown here, but hopefully I've given you a good taste for the progress that's already been made with it. I absolutely adore it, and I'm so excited for the future of Graceborne. If you'd like to see some more coverage, let me know in the comments. For now though, as always, thanks for watching. See you soon.